Hello and welcome. My name is Morgan Ritchie-Baum. I'm the business and nonprofit librarian with Greensboro Public Library. And with the weather turning warmer and days getting longer, our thoughts have turned to the great outdoors and all the promise that lies in our gardens. So we thought this would be a great opportunity to highlight Greensboro's small businesses and nonprofits that celebrate gardening and getting out into our yards. And today I am super excited to be joined by Steve Windham, owner of Root and Branch Gardens. Steve, welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's start off by, Steve, can you just tell us all about your business?
Well, my business started in 2018. I had worked at New Garden Landscaping and nursery for 28 years before that. And so my business started, I was primarily wanted to do more with native plants and native plant gardening, as well as environmentally friendly landscape practices. So I'm trying to get away from the use of pesticides and insecticides, things like that. I just was more and more aware of the problems we're having in our ecosystems as far as reduced quantities of insects and birds and bees and butterflies, and you hear it on the news and you hear it in different magazines, and there's been a lot of attention to it in the last several years. So got more and more interested in that part. So that's what my business does. I do landscape design and advocate for use of native plants in that design. And then I have a landscape installing crews that can install those plants and gardens. I work with a couple other companies that do some of the hardscaping, like patios and walkways and things like that are a part of my design. I also do a little bit of maintenance in my business, landscape maintenance. I'm just kind of getting started in that more. Just felt like it was important to help my clients take care of their landscapes that I've installed, and trying to maintain those without the use of insecticides and things like that. The clients that are more concerned with bees and birds and butterflies, and I'll say it that way just because it's simple, but they appreciate not using those chemicals. And you hear more in the news about people using Roundup, so I'm trying to get away from using those kind of herbicides as well. I feel like, that pets are at risk on lawns, children are at risk on lawns that have a lot of chemicals perhaps used on them. So all of those things. And then one other aspect to my maintenance services, I'm trying to do more with electric appliance,
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, you hear about backpack blowers and how loud they are. I know around leaf season, you hear that in any neighborhood. It's pretty loud.
It's like the new bird song.
Electric blowers don't make near as much noise. Plus, the emissions on the two-cycle engines is one of the dirtier emissions, more than a car.
Right.
So those type of engines are really pollution process. So I've gotten equipment. I have an electric lawnmower, electric blowers, electric hedge trimmers, things like that. Pole saws that are all electric. And then recently I've just added a solar power panel on the roof of my trailer that this equipment is housed in, so we can recharge the batteries from the solar power. So
that's amazing. I didn't even think to do that.
All of it together is just, I'm just trying to, I've always loved nature. and I always loved being in the outdoors, and just, I'm concerned for the future of our cities, our planet.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I can't affect the whole planet, but I can do a little piece in my backyard and other people's
Yeah.
gardens, and encourage people to try to think. I think it's just a snowballing effect, and more people that do that, the better.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to do a little part of
That's
that.
that's awesome. So you really touched, I think, a lot on what's inspired you to go in business, but I'm interested to hear, 22 years with one company, that's a long time. So can you talk a little bit about kind of that leap from going from, kind of having a steady paycheck and everything that comes with that to deciding to go out on your own?
Yeah, so I started working with New Garden in 1989, and I didn't know that I was going to stay there for 28 years at that point. I just, I worked with a lot of great people. I learned a lot and really enjoyed it. Moved up within the company and changed positions a few times. And, so it was a good experience. And then how I made that leap is a really good question, because I was scared.
Yeah.
I was nervous. How's it going to work out? Am I going to be able to pay the bills? What about healthcare? What about, all these questions? So I attended some seminars, GTCC and the Small Business Administration have some programs that they can help you. So that helped. My wife is a nurse, so she was very supportive, and my healthcare now is on her.
Yeah,
policy.
that always helpful.
That certainly helps. So there was a lot of things that helped me bridge that gap, but it was, encouraging to talk to other people that had done it and then succeeded, and friends that I counseled with that it's like, yeah, you can do it. I know you, Steve, you've been doing this all your life, and, you can do it. And so I finally just said, yeah, let's do it. It was a leap of faith. And I guess I figured the worst thing that could happen is I had to go to work for somebody else again.
Right.
I mean, so it may not work out, but it has worked out so far. And, I'm not trying to make tons of money. I'm just doing something that I like to do. And I think what's really important.
Absolutely. So one thing we're talking a lot about now is COVID-19 and the pandemic. It's affected, of course, every aspect of our lives. I think some people have found themselves getting out to their own backyards, maybe a little bit more in the past year than they thought they ever would be. But I'm interested to hear, has COVID-19, how has that impacted your business? How have you dealt with it?
As far as COVID-19 goes, when it first started coming around, and then when there was first that shutdown that took place, I was nervous. It's like new business. How's this going to work out? Well, at whatever reason, the landscape industry or the construction industry folks were permitted to continue to work under the different rules that were taking place. So we were fortunate that we could continue to work, and we work outside and not in close proximity to people. So, my business was not negatively affected by COVID initially. I had one client that kind of put it on hold, and understandably she was concerned, she was nervous, and but she just contacted me last week and said, okay, I just had my vaccine, so I'm getting my second one, so let's start it back up. So
awesome.
That was the only one that kind of put it on hold altogether. And as you said, I mean, a lot of people really want to go outside and want to fix their own house and gardens, construction and landscaping, and they're not traveling as much. So I really have been extremely busy, and
Great.
it had now the biggest negative thing that happened with COVID is I have one employee that got COVID
Oh no.
positive tests and was sick. And me being a small company, I had him and one other fellow that rides in the truck with him, so he had to be out.
Right.
So, we basically almost shut down for a couple of weeks.
Right.
Now I was still doing design work and doing things I could, but so it slowed us down for a little bit. But fortunately, he recovered pretty
Good.
quickly. He was sick for a little bit, and nobody else got it. So it was, we were really, really fortunate. I'm just really glad that he wasn't sicker than he got.
Absolutely.
That's been scary, and I wear
Yeah.
a mask. I go to meet customers and I'm wearing a mask. So they might not know what I look like in real life. All they see is my eyes.
Right. Well, so you've given so much great inspiration and ideas, I think, for small business owners. Is there, in your time as a new business, is there one or two pieces of advice that or lessons that you've learned that you think are really important to pass on to somebody who's interested in starting a business, interested in taking that leap, or has just started out?
All good questions, and I'm not a big business guy, so I struggle with some things. I think for me, what has been successful, I will say, what helped me is that I'm really passionate about what I
Mm,
do,
yeah.
and I try to think about what I do is it's why am I in business? It's not
Yeah.
the what do I do and
Yeah.
how do I do it that's important. It's more about the why I do
Yeah.
it. And I think if you let that be known to your clients that that's what you're concerned, you want to do a good project, you want to do good work, and this is why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, and I really like what I'm doing, and I think that is obvious
Hmm.
to my clients for the most part. So I think that really helps is to know why you're doing something,
Yeah.
not just how you're going to do it. But then the how is important too. So
Right.
so um, I did get some help from some other people. I mentioned the seminars
Hmm.
I went to. I talked to some attorneys. I talked to I have a CPA that
Hmm.
helps me guide guide me on tax information because I want to make sure I'm above board with that.
Absolutely.
Um, I, um, I, some things cost a lot more than I had anticipated.
Sure.
Insurance was a lot more expensive, and needing to follow certain rules and laws.
Hmm.
Insurance and workers' comp insurance,
Hmm.
unemployment insurance, and liability insurance,
Right.
vehicle insurance. Insurance is really expensive and it adds up. So some of that I hadn't done as much research as I probably
Hmm.
should have done. So I think the research on the front end and trying to really itemize all the costs. I had costs on a lot of things, but that I wasn't accurate on
Gotcha.
some of those costs, and it's worked out to be okay, but I was surprised.
Yes.
And have competition from, being a landscape business. There's a lot of people that mow grass and things like
Hmm.
that that may have other jobs.
Hmm.
Well, this is my livelihood, and I have to pay taxes on it and pay insurance and make sure everything is done right. And some of those other folks might not.
Hmm.
I'm not saying they don't. I'm sure most of them do.
Right.
But it kind of adds up. Um, what else? As far as advice, I I ask my customers, a
Yeah.
lot, how is everything, or is there something else I can do? Try to communicate a lot
Mm-hmm.
with people. and be upfront that it's going to be a little while before I can do it.
Right.
Right now I'm overwhelmed. Right now, it being in spring, and my
Sure.
spring and fall is a busy time. So
Yeah.
I had someone call earlier today, and I was just, she wanted to do some plantings of plant that I could do, but it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks before I could really talk to her much about it, because
Yeah.
but she didn't really want to wait. So but I let her know that.
Yeah.
Instead of saying,
Communication.
sure, I'll help you. So I think that's important. Just try to be honest. I mean, weather affects my business a lot. So
Absolutely.
we had a lot of rain.
It's been wet.
It really slows you down quite a bit. So telling people, when I tell you what the schedule is, that's depending on the weather. I don't know for sure it's going to
And
change.
it's North Carolina, so who knows,
Welcome
right?
to North Carolina. Right. It's going to change.
So let's talk about obviously something you're incredibly passionate about, which is gardening and getting outdoors. So what are some pieces of advice you might have for somebody who's looking to get out into their garden and do something in their garden, or maybe even, with a little plot of land that they do have? What kind of advice do you have for somebody just getting out into their yard?
So don't hesitate. Just go for it. Grab a shovel. You're going to make mistakes, but you can fix most of those mistakes. Now, there's a lot of information available, and there's a lot of people out there that can help.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good garden centers. Like I say, I worked with New Garden for
Mm-hmm.
a long time. Guilford Garden Center. There's different garden centers out at the farmers market, A, B, and B seed.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different ones. Try to talk to somebody that knows something about what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and get some guidance from them. And if it's a big project, you may enlist some professional help to kind of help guide you even further on that. But getting in the soil and planting and doing your own thing in the garden, I mean, it's great for your mental state.
Yeah.
It's healthy.
Yes.
And so, and I've made mistakes in the gardens before, and you learn from it.
Yeah.
So it can be intimidating, but just get out there and do it, and just keep doing it. Just
absolutely
plant more plants. We need more plants.
Yes.
So don't hesitate. Just put more plants in the ground. Try to get guidance on which ones, so that it's the right place, the exposure, as far as shade, sun. How big is it going to get? Don't plant a tree that's going to get too big under a power line. So there's certain things that you want to try to do some research on, but don't let it overwhelm you. Just you can get out there and play with the worms and have fun.
Take the leap. I feel like that's been the motto of this entire interview. Just take the leap.
Yeah.
So Steve, where can we find out more about you and your business?
Well, my website is rootandbranchgardens.com.
Okay.
So there's one place. On that website, you'll find my phone number and my email, and I can tell you more about it. One other resource I would say too, I didn't think about a moment ago when you're asking me about, how to learn how to get out there. Greensboro Beautiful is a
yes.
nonprofit that I've worked with for many, many years. And, there's a lot of great programs there and people that are into our public gardens. So that's a good place to learn from people as well. So, and then the County Extension Service has the Master Gardeners program that, so there's so many different places to learn about gardening, and you'll find that gardeners are people that love plants, love to share.
Yes.
And I have plants that were my mother's that, it just kind of gets passed around.
Right.
Once you get infected by that bug, look out, because it's going to be in you.
Right.
It's in me.
Oh, Steve, thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation. I think you've shared so much wisdom, both for somebody looking to start a business and somebody looking to get out in the garden. So thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Sure. Thank you. I hope everybody enjoys the flowers that are blooming out there today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.